Does Mark's gospel portray Jesus' miracles in some way disprove he's the Messiah? It's a really strange book, and Dr. James Tabor is going to tackle this question. Before he does, be sure to sign up for the Mark course. I hope that everybody who's watching this takes the time to go sign up, because we're doing a live Q&A on March the 5th, that Sunday, and we'll probably do some future ones if things really get exciting and we get tons of questions from those who view it. You're going to want to sign up. You also get the 7 lectures, lots of bibliography stuff, packets, all sorts of stuff that Dr. James Tabor has put together. And he's done this for this specific course for over 30 years. So Dr. Tabor, tell us a little bit about the Q&A that you want to do with us, and also answering this question, this strange thing about the miracles in Mark and people asking for a sign.
Well, I'm really excited about the Zoom meeting that we're going to have. I call it the Zoom room because we can have several hundred people gathered together, but there's an intimacy to it. It's like gathered around the screen. And if you turn your video on, we can see you. You don't have to. We won't make you show your face. But then we're going to screen questions for a couple of hours. And it's going to be a dialogue. And we have really perceptive people that listen to our YouTube channels. We know that from their questions. And quite a few have taken this course, and we think quite a few more will before March 5th. And if you do sign up for the course, then you'll get the invitation. It's a private invitation. And as Derek said, if we run out of time, we'll go about 2 hours. People have to rest after a while. But if we haven't gotten to all the questions, we'll just schedule another session. So it's going to be interesting. Very seldom is this kind of thing done. It's almost like I would have you in a classroom. I used to teach classes of 100. Sometimes more than that, 150. And you would be with me in class, but then there would be a Q&A class. I used to teach Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And on Friday, we would open up to everybody what we had covered. And that's sort of what we're doing here, in the sense that we're compressing it together. But as to your question, Derek, that we want to talk about today in this short little overview, you'd think miracles are to prove Jesus is the Christ, right? And yet in Mark, they're not. They're actually to disprove he's the Messiah. Now, I'm being purposely provocative, but let me stand by that statement. The reason is the concept of the Messiah you're going to get if you go by the miracles is a false Messiah. It's a false concept. So, yes, Jesus is the Messiah in Mark, the beginning of the gospel of Jesus Christ, or Jesus the Messiah. That's how it begins. That's the secret, though, you understand? And as you take the course, you begin to realize, wait a minute, this is not Matthew, this is not Luke. Obviously, in Matthew and Luke, these prohibitions, don't tell what I've done, don't say who I am, and even this rebuking of Peter and calling him Satan, get behind me, Satan. Luke takes all that out. But Mark is the original story. That's why I call it Creating Jesus, why Mark was forgotten. So what do you have in Mark? You got 22 miracles. Here they are. Ready? 4 exorcisms, 11 healings, 6 other kinds of wonders that could be like multiplying the loaves and the fishes twice, walking on water, calming the storm, and 1 raising of the dead. So that's a pretty good repertoire, 22 miracles in Mark. But the question, who then is this, predominates when those miracles are done. For example, when Jesus calms the storm, the disciples, who don't get it, by the way, anywhere in Mark, you know what they say? They go, who then is this, that even the wind and the sea obeys him? Now, if you have the view of this powerful Messiah, who is the Messiah because he can calm a storm like they do, and they're amazed, wow, this is amazing, who's this guy? Then you're not understanding what it means to be the anointed one or the chosen one. And that's the secret in Mark. Peter does not get it. In fact, he immediately, when he does confess Jesus as the Christ in Mark chapter 8, Jesus says, okay, you said it. Shh, don't tell anybody, but do you get it? And he doesn't get it because when Jesus tells him what it really means, you know what Peter says? He rebukes Jesus. Imagine, Peter rebukes Jesus in Mark and in effect, I think, said something like, no, you got it all wrong. I said you were the Messiah. So you see the idea? He was going by the miracles. And this is halfway through the book, climax, who do men say that I am? Most readers fall for that. Most readers are like Peter. They think, oh, it's finally out. He's the Messiah. Glory, hallelujah. And yet when Jesus explains, as he continues to do throughout the book, what that means, you realize the miracles have nothing to do with understanding the real mission of Jesus. Part of it's the Hellenistic world, Derek. You've done a lot on this. You know, the divine man idea in the Hellenistic world. Let's take Apollonius of Tyana. I know he's later than Jesus, but he does all kinds of miracles, very similar to Jesus. So is he the guy you should follow? Is he the ultimate teacher? Mark was aware there are also rabbinic figures of this time, Honi the circle drawer and others who could command weather and cause rain to come like Elijah. And in fact, in the Hebrew Bible, Elijah works all of these miracles, even raises the dead, right? So lots of people in the Greek and the Jewish world are prepared to think, well, if a guy can do that, then that's who you want to listen to. And yet Jesus says continually, don't tell that. Don't spread that. Yes, I can do it by the authority of God, but that's not the message. That's not the understanding of what a Messiah is. So clearly, most of, I think, even people listening here without the course know that it has something to do with his suffering, but it's more than that. It actually is. The last two miracles have to do with healing 2 blind people and 1 deaf person. Now, I'm not saying they're symbolic. They're narrated as if they happened. One is right before he reveals the secret to the disciples 3 times, and they don't get it. They don't get it. This is Mark chapter 8, Mark chapter 9, and Mark chapter 10. That's the blind man where he touches them twice. He touches him twice, remember, and at first he doesn't see, and then he sees. And then after that, in chapter 10, he heals another blind man, and he does see, and he also heals a deaf man. So the inner meaning of that for Mark is, okay, Jesus can heal a blind person who cannot see, a deaf person who cannot hear, but can he heal you if you can't see, if you can't hear, if you can't understand the secret of the kingdom? You see? It makes it so amazing and fascinating. And in fact, when his enemies come up and say, give us a sign, that's the typical understanding in the Hellenistic, Greek, and Jewish world. What would make you a really great figure, a Messiah, a leader, somebody that people should look to, a great teacher, a great philosopher? Well, it would be, give us a sign, especially in the Jewish culture. If you're going to be the Messiah, you got to be able to do stuff, work miracles, right? And you know what Jesus says? There will be no sign given to this generation. Now, wait a minute. Wasn't he giving signs the whole time? And now he says there'll be no sign given? It's not that he stopped doing miracles. He kept on. But those were not the signs of the Messiah. That's what Mark's telling you. You're not going to get a sign. If you want to understand who the Messiah is, no sign. Again, I hate to keep jumping on Matthew and Luke, but as they rewrite Mark and overwrite it and reinterpret it and take things out and put things in, you know what Matthew says? There will be no sign given except the sign of Jonah of the resurrection of Jesus. Think about it. Mark says no sign. Matthew says, wait a minute. So I don't think Matthew understands Mark. because he basically just contradicted what Jesus said. There'll be no sign given, but, and Mark just says there'll be no sign given. And it says he turned and walked away and just let them, said, you guys are out. You don't get it. So that's just one of the many mysteries of Mark. It makes it such a fascinating story, gospel, however you view it. People who are very conservative and evangelical take this course. Remember, I've taught it for decades. And many times in my classes, especially at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, we call it the Bible Belt, right? We're in the South. Most of my students that sign up for a Bible course, they're Bible believers, they're Christians, they want to study Mark. And you know what? Once they get into it and begin to see that what I'm teaching is directly from the text, they love it. And they go and teach the things from Mark because they feel that they're finally understanding something that Mark has that is different from just opening your Bible, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and just reading at random. Lots of times I've heard preachers say over the years, well, let's talk about Jesus's parable of the sower. I think I'll use Matthew today. You see, as if it's just like a cafeteria. You want to use Luke, you want to use Matthew, whatever you want to use, it doesn't matter. This is abusing the Gospels. Critical means carefully reading each one. Now, we're going to have courses later on Matthew and Luke. So just because they don't understand Mark doesn't mean that they can't also be studied academically with great value, because they're representing other stages and understandings as Christianity began to shape and form itself and emerge. But I want to go to the earliest. This is the earliest. And Derek, it has been forgotten, because all these things I'm talking about, I never heard them growing up. I just heard a mishmash of everything put together. And that's not the way to carefully study the Bible.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tabor. I hope everybody takes the time, sign up for the Mark course, and we'll see you at the Q&A on March 5th, and we'll plan on doing future Q&As. See you there.